Okay, so g'day and welcome back to another beautiful day in Australia. So today we are at Warburton and we have a lot of good geology around here. So behind me we have, I think it's granodiorites, granite, that make up those peaks, and on the other side we have the Acheron Caldera. So this is a former volcano. I think it's about 350 million years ago, and it's collapsed into the empty magma chamber. So the batholith is emptied and then it just collapses. So I'm going up to Mount Donabuang and to see if we can see any rock up there. It's beautiful. But now we have the I think this is the Warburton River. Don't know. But, oh no, it says Yarra River. So this is the upper reaches of the Yarra River. So here we are at La La Falls. La 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 la. And what we have a beautiful bird. Yellow-tailed cockatoo, tastes like chicken. Beautiful wallaby, tastes like, don't know, fairy wren. And this is where we are. And we're going to walk all the way down there. And then afterwards we're going to go, oh, it's too far. Anyway, I don't have a selfie stick or a gimbal. My wife stole it. But at the park, looks like we got some granodiorite. Looks like equigranular granodiorite. I can see some feldspars, smaller granites, not granites, quartz, some micas, looks like micas, probably muscovite, and also, yeah, this might be a little bit equigranular, but I don't see any large crystals or feldspar at all. So this is all the rock of La La Falls. So anyway, this is all classed as the Warburton granodiorite, and it's about the same age as the Marysville Igneous complex, which is behind me, and behind me is pretty much the Acheron cauldron, or a collapsed caldera, and they age about 380 to 350 million years ago. So this is all the granodiorites in central Victoria are from the same age, so it's all from the same volcanic complex. So probably, based on what I've read, hey, go, I'm recording now. So this is the La La Falls, and you can hear the falls in the background. Beautiful. So I'm not really up to date on the geology of this region. I am reading up on it. So, and a lot of the geology that I'm reading is from texts from the 1970s, which are probably a little bit out of date. There would have been a little bit more research than currently known. But basically, this is probably, this would have been part of a trough, so the Melbourne Trough, which is towards the east, towards Melbourne. And here we would have had the Caldera orogeny material. I'm not really that fit. So this is part of a volcanic, how would it be? I think there was the Van Dieland come up south, was causing extension, and it would have allowed magma to actually rise up underneath the crust. So a lot of this magmatic material, some of it comes from the mantle, which is I-type granites, and some of it is S-type, which is sedimentary type granites. So basically you've got the I-type coming up. Well, some of it would have welled and just sat at the bottom of the crust, and as it's sitting there, it's heating up the crust, and then the crust itself, it's melting and going up through the Silurian sedimentary rock, and probably also the Cambrian as well. So, and then it would have extruded, or a lot of times it just would have formed a batholith underneath ground. And if it did form a volcano, then that's been totally eradicated. But here, the Acheron Caldera is a remnant of one of those volcanoes, or maybe a set of volcanoes, in which it is mainly ignimbrite. So, just like a welded tuff from pyroclastic tuff. So, yeah. Then you get these beautiful tree ferns. So this one's probably about, I'd say 5 meters high. Can't climb it, it's too tall. And we have these, might be yellow gum, I don't know what eucalyptus trees these are. And there might be some Nopophagus in the wetter areas. But as you can see, this is just a beautiful place to come up bushwalk. There's a lot of wildlife in here. So as you can see, a lot of the granodiorite is pretty weathered here. So the only way you can tell it's a granodiorite is that it is rounded, which is pretty normal for weathering pattern of a granodiorite. And this is about as close as I'm going to get. It's actually quite nice. Obviously this is a tributary of the Yarra River, don't know what it's called. Maybe La La River, whatever. And I don't see any snakes, so that makes me sad. Oh look, we have a troll bridge. And don't forget to pay the money to go over the bridge to your wife, or else you can't go over. So here we have a little stream, little creek, whatever you want to call it. This runs into, I think, the Lalal Creek, which goes into the Yarra River. So obviously there is a weakness between the man-made track and also the hillside. So this is a low point in which that has been man-made, but over a long period of time this will actually form a major watercourse. And cool, obviously you can see there's lots of erosion. And over this side looks like we have a natural one covered in vegetation, but still the same as this. So that is coming pretty much off the hillside. And the material feels sandy, but it also has clay in it. So obviously there's not enough energy in this water to take the clays away, as you can tell by okay, so yeah, so when you dump the material in, it does go a bit milky, but it soon settles. Some of the clays are taken, so that looks a bit clayey, but it will go clear as the clays are taken away and the sand is deposited. And looks like we have a fresh piece of the granodiorite, which is not that worn. So here's a well. So this has a lot of weathering on it. A lot of the clays are broken down into probably more like clay minerals, or they're halfway in between. So it's a bit hard to tell what that is. This one you can tell, I need to put my glasses on, but you can tell it's got potassium, and so it's got orphic clays, plagiate clays, it's got quartz, it's got probably biotite, probably a little bit of amphibole. Wouldn't have any pyroxene, not if it's a granite. This looks more granitic than granodiorite. And you can see this is actually seeping through the soil, so it's causing a small cave to form, and eventually that will collapse. And you can see all the weathered and eroded material. It's on the side, so it's falling down and it's slowly breaking up into this sandy stuff here. So that's interesting. And this would have only formed after the track was made, which I've done at a time period. But this stuff has been coming down the hillside for probably millions of years. So walking up this track, all over the place, it's just regions of very hard material, which causes these waterfalls to be formed. So obviously here this material is not as hard, but just have to go to a little location, a bit harder. Now what could be the cause of that? I don't know, probably just a difference in the mineral composition over the short period, could be. Because this is not, it wouldn't have like 20% quartz here, 20% there. It'd be like, I don't know, probably 30-40% there, could be like 10% there. You just never know. Or it could be just the crystal size, or it could be that there's just a fault line here which allows for the material to be easier eroded. Or even the plants have an effect on the geology of the area. Okay, so here we have the Warburton granodiorite. Obviously, by the looks of it, the density down below and up the top is the same. So it's trying to weather the rock at the same pace. But then you get here, and obviously you have a pooling of more water, which would increase the weathering rate, which we don't see here. This has been dammed. But if it was to go down, you can see the weathering just keeps going down. So this is indicative of more energy in this environment. So it probably doesn't really change that much in the density of the material. But fractures in the rock can increase the weathering rate. There's lots of flies and mosquitoes here. They want to eat me alive. But how did this waterfall form? Well, if you know anything about waterfalls, you'll know that these recede. So this waterfall is receding. As it's eroding, it's going back into the hillside. And that would have been the case probably a few million years ago. Could even be 10, 20, even 100 million years ago. The waterfall was that way. And the height of this peak was a lot higher. So obviously all this has been weathered away. Weathered and eroded away, should I say. So weathering is just the breaking down of the actual material in place. Erosion is taking it away. So you've got chemical weathering, so all this rock is changing chemically from, you know, the feldspars, the quartz, the micas into a different product. And it's also changed in size, so the grain size is getting smaller. So this is rock, these are boulders. Here we have sand, probably also some clays. And as it gets smaller, there's a lot less energy for it to take it away. So it's been transported down and taken, and eventually it's dumped either into a lake or a river. Or most likely the ocean. So basically this probably would have formed at the Hornfels, which is at the edge of the batholith, which is sedimentary rock that's been heated and recrystallized. It's also a lot harder, and that is the, I can't remember what they call the actual Hornfels, but it comes from the, I can't even remember the sedimentary rock anyway, we'll look at that when I get down to the car. So, and then I reckon that the waterfall has just been slowly coming up river over the past few million years till where it is now. And in the future, this waterfall is going to keep going that way. So in 5 million years, the waterfall won't be here. None of this rock will be here. None of these plants will be here. These species of plant will either be slightly genetically changed or extinct. And I believe these, every 100,000 years or so, probably even a bit more, these ecological communities do change. Geology doesn't change unless there's something major happening. But as far as I know, there might be some minor uplift, but nothing really major. All this has just been weathering. So basically that's it. So that's basically how waterfall forms and how its life cycle is. And the end of its life cycle was when this whole mountain range is actually gone. And it's pretty flat. There might be little waterfalls always, but eventually just become a slow, smooth running stream. Anyway, I really like these. I don't know what's that, moss? Could be. It's like a fan shape. Okay, so I'm at Mount Donabuang, and the range behind me is the Acheron Caldera, and that is basically, this is what they class as a Mount Donabuang not granodiorite, rhyodacite, and it is a former volcanic crater. So this is a cauldron because it's quite large. I don't know the exact dimensions. It's probably about 100 by 100 kilometers, or maybe not that big, maybe about 50 by 50. And all of this you can see here is the rhyodacite. So it is not a rhyolite, not a dacite, it's in between. And over there we have another Caldera in the mountain peaks that are in the far ground over there. So that's the other one. That's probably the outer edge. And as you can see, this forms a lot of high ridges and mountain peaks. Now, I don't know the elevation of here. This today was just a ad hoc travel down here, so I didn't have time to do any research on the geology of this area. As you can see, we have a lot of eucalyptus trees, beautiful. So this has all been cut down to allow you to have a view, although there is a observation deck you can go up, but I don't like going up that shit, so I'm not going to. I should actually get over that, get over the heights. Anyway, so this is a former volcano that is made of ignimbrite, so a welded tuff or pyroclastic tuff that's been, because of the heat, it's been recrystallized and welded together. So it's very hard material to erode. So that's why it forms these large mountain peaks, and around it we have various sedimentary rocks. I think around here is the Norton Gully siltstone, which is a lot softer, so it's easier to erode. So that would have not been formed over top because that Norton Gully is a bit older. I think it's about 450 million years ago. Might be. Or it might have formed around the actual volcano itself and probably be made up of it. So that I'll need to look up. I don't know. So basically, that is what we have here. And it's the largest volcano in Victoria. But whether it is one volcano or various volcanoes, I'm not too sure. So basically, the magma chamber has been emptied, spat out, and formed this tuff, and then the volcano itself has collapsed in on the magma chamber, so it's just sunk, and that's why a lot of this material has not been eroded now, because it is lower in elevation than the volcano originally was. So I would say the volcano is probably a few kilometers up in the sky that way. Probably would have been quite large considering the dimensions. Everything you see here is the former volcano. So basically, if you come onto these paths, you can actually see the rhyodacite on the path itself, although it is fairly weathered, so it's probably, because this is a national park, you're not allowed to touch it, so you can't break it open. So yeah, I'm alright with that. So you'd need to go to another place. Probably most of this rock material is in the national park, so you'd probably need special permission to do anything with it. But this is probably the best place you're going to find the rocks. So it's not really that good, but it is nice to walk into. So you got beautiful yellow flowers, although I think they're weed. You have lots of native plants, and if you look at, you can see how lush and green it is. So this is more like a subtropical rainforest, and we have tree ferns just starting to colonise the area. So this might have been cleared at one time, but the trees have been regrowing, and in winter this actually gets quite a lot of snow. So if you like your snow, come here in winter. But yeah, it has a lot of lichen, nothing special. I'm trying to see if we can find just a fresh exposure, so something's been eroded, but I'm probably not really going to find that here. And the temperature today, so it's what, the 11th of January. Is it the 11th? No, it's the 10th of January. Sorry, I'm going into the future. So basically, it's 32 degrees today. Yeah, and hay fever's setting in. Okay, so basically, this is how you're going to find the rock a lot of times. It's going to disguise itself. So that's basically camouflage. Although you go down to places like this, which I'm not really going to go down, okay, basically you can just walk for hours around here. And so, looking at that, that's pretty much just, looks like lichen just on top of it. So this is pretty much altered material, and it's also covered in lichen, moss, and other organisms. So basically, how you get to fresh materials, you need to crack all this open, but that's a lot of effort. Also, probably illegal, but it's a nice forest. And it's a lot darker than what it looks now in this camera. Okay, so coming and looking at the rock in here, looks like we have an enclave of probably, I don't know, it looks like a sandstone, although it could be another igneous type of rock. And that's the thing about these type of material. This could have been, so this is an ignimbrite, so a pyroclastic tuff, although some areas could be a breccia. So might be, this could be a breccia as well as just the pyroclastic tuff as well. So that this is probably just a bomb, and it's well known. So this would have been just rock that solidified and during one of the eruptions it's been broken off and thrown into the air and probably deposited, in which it's flowing down slope. Here's another one, and it's a lot lighter material, so it probably has a coarser crystal structure. Feels like it. That feels a lot coarser than this. And as you can see, you can tell it's a different colour. So volcanic bomb, and you can see there's actually quite a lot of it in the rock. And if we go up to here, we can see there's a lot of all this small, I don't see any fiamma in there, so none of it's actually been flattened, but there is some, and the weathering of it actually does disguise it a bit. So here's some more. And that's about it. Here's another one, quite rounded, not flattened. Another coarse one. So yeah, that's what if the material is between 25 and 75% of these bombs, it will be classed as a tough breccia, but obviously this is not 20 or even 25%, so this is still the pyroclastic pyroclastic flow, pyroclastic tough. And this is probably just the same material.